The Full Moon's Curse. Chapter 3. Shadows in the Dark. James's heart pounded as he barreled down the deserted highway, the full moon hanging ominously in the sky. The landscape blurred past him in a dark streak of colors. Every few seconds he would glance at the rearview mirror, hoping to catch a glimpse of the mysterious black sedan, or whatever was trailing him in the shadows. But the road behind him remained clear, save for the ever-present darkness. The truck's headlights cut through the blackness, illuminating the road ahead in stark, white beams. The trees lining the road seemed to lean in closer, their gnarled branches stretching like skeletal fingers trying to snatch him from the safety of his truck. The soft rustling of the leaves in the wind only added to the growing sense of unease. James could hardly keep his focus on the road. The smell of blood was still heavy in the air, and it seemed to cling to his nostrils, a constant reminder of the danger he was trying to escape. The beast within him was restless, its hunger and knowing relentless force. Every time he tried to push the thoughts away, they came rushing back, more insistent and urgent. He forced himself to concentrate on the road, but the shadows seemed to dance at the edges of his vision, playing tricks on his tired mind. A sudden movement caught his eye, a dark shape darting across the road ahead. James's breath hitched as he slammed on the brakes, the truck screeching to a halt. The figure was gone in an instant, swallowed by the darkness. James stared at the empty road, his pulse racing. Had he imagined it? Or was there something, or someone, out there? He eased the truck back into motion, his eyes scanning the darkness. The shadows seemed to shift and writhe, forming grotesque shapes that disappeared as quickly as they had appeared. His imagination, fueled by exhaustion and fear, was turning every flicker of movement into a potential threat. Suddenly, the radio crackled to life again, filling the cab with the same eerie static from before. James's heart leapt. He reached for the dial, trying to turn it off, but the static only grew louder, more erratic. Then, through the crackling noise, he heard a voice, a whispering, haunting sound. James. The voice was barely audible, but it sent a chill down his spine. He stared at the radio, trying to decipher the words, but the static drowned out any clarity. The whisper seemed to be coming from somewhere else, somewhere beyond the reach of the radio. James, help us. The voice faded, leaving only the oppressive silence. James's breath came in ragged gasps as he fought to steady his nerves. He had to focus. He had to stay alert. But the shadows seemed to be closing in, pressing in from all sides. He turned his attention back to the road, his eyes straining to make out any shapes in the darkness. The truck's headlights cut through the gloom, but the road seemed to stretch endlessly, with no sign of anything out of the ordinary. James's mind raced with possibilities. What if the voice on the radio was real? What if there was someone out there, someone who needed help? The truck's engine rumbled steadily beneath him, a comforting reminder of his connection to reality. But as the minutes ticked by, the unease only grew. The road seemed to twist and turn in ways that didn't make sense, as if it was leading him deeper into a trap. Then, just as he was beginning to think that he was imagining things, he saw it, a flicker of movement in the distance. His eyes narrowed as he focused on the shape ahead. It was a figure, standing by the side of the road, barely visible in the dim light. James slowed the truck and pulled over, the engine idling softly as he peered through the windshield. The figure was shrouded in shadow, its features indistinguishable. It looked almost like a person, but there was something unsettling about it, something that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. He hesitated, his hand hovering over the door handle. Should he get out and investigate, or should he stay in the safety of the truck? The thought of confronting whatever was out there, especially with the beast within him growing more agitated, was terrifying. The figure moved slightly, and James's heart skipped a beat. It was as if the shadows themselves were alive, swirling around the figure in an almost deliberate fashion. He couldn't make out any details, but the sense of malevolence was palpable. Taking a deep breath, James stepped out of the truck. The cold night air hit him like a slap, and he shivered as he approached the figure. The ground seemed to shift beneath his feet, the darkness closing in around him. As he drew closer, the figure remained still, its form barely distinguishable from the surrounding shadows. James reached out a hand, his fingers trembling, but just as he was about to touch the figure, it moved. The movement was swift, almost too quick for James to react. The figure darted into the trees, disappearing into the darkness. James froze, his mind racing. Had he seen something, or had it been another trick of the shadows? He turned back to the truck, his pulse racing. The sense of being watched was overwhelming, and the feeling of dread clung to him like a second skin. He climbed back into the cab, slamming the door behind him. The truck's engine roared to life, and he sped down the road, eager to put as much distance between himself and the mysterious figure as possible. The night seemed to stretch on forever, the road ahead a never-ending expanse of darkness. James's thoughts were a jumble of fear and confusion, each shadow and sound magnified by his anxiety. The beast within him was restless, its hunger growing stronger with every mile. As he drove, the road seemed to twist and turn in ways that didn't make sense, as if it was leading him deeper into a trap. The full moon hung high in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the landscape. The shadows seemed to dance at the edges of his vision, and the sense of being hunted grew stronger. The road, and the feeling of impending danger was suffocating. James's thoughts raced, his mind struggling to make sense of the night's events. The mysterious figure, the whispering voice, the growing sense of being watched, it was all too much. James knew one thing for certain: he was no longer alone. The night was alive with shadows, and the beast within him was only getting stronger.